Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Magpie Embedded YouTube channel. I'm Tim Geit, and today I'm going to be talking about Embedded World 2025, the largest embedded software, hardware, tooling, embedded systems conference you can find in the world, and also where I got this really cool t-shirt. So while I start to talk, I'm going to show you some video from a tour of the conference I did. When you arrive, it's actually quite surprising just how big the conference is. There are 7 enormous halls, each significantly bigger than a football pitch. Around 1,200 stands this year, so all from different companies. Some of these stands are quite small. Some of them are about the size of a tennis court, and they have plenty of room to walk around and snacks and drinks and giveaways. It's an enormous conference with people walking around all day, every day, for 3 days talking about embedded systems. This takes place once a year in Nuremberg in South Germany, and people come from all over the world in order to attend, to talk about things and to display their products. I've been 4 or 5 years in a row now. Most years when I go, there's quite a clear trend to the conference. I would say over the past few years, that's been AI, Rust, and Zephyr in different years. I definitely remember one year walking in and almost every single stand had a camera pointed at you with a demo showing, face identification and feature identification. This year, I actually felt that those trends were slightly muted and a little bit more in the background, and people were trying to focus on what they were doing differently. There was definitely still a focus on AI and how generative AI in particular could be used to support tooling for embedded systems, things like testing and security. But it wasn't there as much in the applications actually running on microcontrollers or on demo boards. I did see the Cyber Resilience Act, which is being introduced in the EU and coming into force over the next few years, mentioned explicitly in a few places. And this is probably something that a lot of people still haven't thought too much about and might not be ready for. So I think we're going to see more focus on that, as that comes into effect. I did talk to some people who've been going to the conference, longer than me, and they said that the conference has shifted slightly over the past few years, and there's now a big focus on those hardware vendors who are selling microcontrollers like ST, Nordic, Microchip, all of the big boys, and things like software tooling to help you actually get your embedded systems built, compilers, test management, all those kind of things. And then I would say there's also a lot of people offering really good embedded systems consultancy and services around the conference. Some big companies who aren't there, who were there last year, are Microsoft and Amazon. So Microsoft were there last year talking about some of their IoT platform, Azure IoT or whatever it's called these days, and how they had moved ThreadX into the Eclipse Foundation. Previous years, they were there highlighting ThreadX capability. And Amazon were there normally under an AWS guise, again, talking about their IoT capabilities and their FreeRTOS integration, which they still own and run FreeRTOS. But neither of those companies were there this year. One of the biggest stands was for Qualcomm, which is not a company that a lot of people interact with, but it still represents quite a large part of the embedded systems market. Last year, during Embedded World, they announced their purchase of Foundries.io, and this year, their purchase of Edge Impulse, which does AI modeling for embedded systems. So this suggests to me that Qualcomm are looking at kind of an end-to-end solution for embedded systems, talking about data, analyzing it, generating the correct model, all the way through then their processors and chips And then Foundries.io providing some of the capability for test, for distributing all the way down to your actual device in the field. So that's an interesting trend to look out for. I mentioned Zephyr before, having a special focus on it at some of the conferences I've attended previously. I think support for Zephyr is definitely still growing. So their stand this year had a lot of companies displaying, and Zephyr was mentioned on lots of different companies in terms of their support, integration from hardware. So people making new chips or modules that you can buy, having Zephyr support to start with, and also from software tooling, things like GUIs, analytics, providing their Zephyr integrations and making that really clear to people that that's available. So that's really exciting to see. Zephyr mentioned they're now one of the top 25 open source projects in terms of the rate of commits they're getting every year. And I think that's only going to continue to grow in the near future. On the Wednesday of the conference, I actually attended some workshops, and one of those was run by Analog Devices, who were highlighting their Zephyr First platform for their microcontrollers. Normally, I think of Analog Devices providing sensors and specific chips that I need, but not actually microcontrollers. But that's what they were there selling and showing that they have a Zephyr First integration and that they're taking that quite seriously. And in my mind, that follows Nordic, who have moved their entire tool chain to be based around Zephyr. And Nordic were also there, obviously highlighting their capabilities and doing talks about getting things into upstream Zephyr and making sure that's available to the community. So that was pretty cool. There are a couple of companies I noticed talking about diagram to electrical schematic tools. This is something I've seen before, but it's interesting to see more companies attempting to do that. They're currently mostly focused on digital components, so microcontrollers, I2C chips, SPI chips, those sorts of things. But we can see the capability growing already from when these companies first came on the market. And they're offering integrations with Altium, KiCad, those kind of tools, mostly handing over for you to do your own layout. But some of those companies are working on auto routers and actually providing that end-to-end system. So it was a very interesting conference this year. Lots of good conversations, some of which I've recorded, and I'm going to put some short excerpts in now. And I'll have the full conversations up on the channel over the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for those. What's the most interesting demo you've seen while you've been walking around? Anything caught your eye?
Oh yeah, I did. So in the ESP32 booth, they had a pretty neat local LLM. So it had this M5 stack board. So it's these small boards that you can stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
So there was one where it takes a picture of you, and then it runs a local LLM, and then it explains what's in the picture. And I found it pretty impressive. There's no connectivity whatsoever, and it was running on ESP32.
Have you noticed any trends this year, or otherwise, what's the most interesting thing you've seen on one of the other stands?
Wow, that is a difficult question. So first, unfortunately, I didn't have the time I wish I would have to work around. What I'm seeing is that this year there are a lot of new companies. There is a variety of things, especially in the semiconductor area. I see a lot of things. One of the initiatives I really like is the Cherry initiative. So Cherry is basically it's an extension to RISC-V or any CPU. It makes programs memory safe. So you cannot really make a mistake in the programming. It will be catched by the hardware, and the hardware makes sure you're not accessing wrong memory addresses or a bad actor is trying to sniff it. Rowhammer and all those things come to mind. I'm personally thinking embedded world is also morphing a little bit, getting more in the semiconductor space. So we had a lot of ready-to-use systems like this PCBs, but now we are also getting more of the IP. I think that's a great chance, especially for UK, for Europe, to say, hey guys, we can do our own, and we do have the possibilities, we have the capabilities, and all we need to do is to enable a lot of intelligence engineers like you guys.
Did you see any interesting demos or anything that caught your eye?
I've seen something that it was really interesting was the glasses with high reality that you can have it was you can click on something and you can have data with your glasses, and I found it really interesting.
Okay, better than Google Glasses from
Yes.
10 years ago.
Exactly. For sure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this talk about Embedded World 25. This is, again, one of the, if not the largest conference focused on embedded systems in the world throughout the year. And it's really interesting to go see what's changing from year to year, talk to people who've been in the industry a long time and get their take on trends that we're seeing. I really enjoy going and just meeting people and having a chat about embedded software, actually. So that's really nice. Hopefully this gave you a bit of a flavor of what it's like to attend and what some of my takeaways were. As I said, I'll have those extended videos up on the channel over the next few weeks, so please keep an eye out for that. If you like this video and you want to find out when those interviews come in, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. You can also go to magpieembedded.co.uk to get more information from our blog or get in contact if there's embedded software work you'd like to do with us. That's everything for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.